Welcome to the Tabletop Spotlight. I'm Adam.
And I'm Matt.
We're from Bowls. We're here to talk to you today about some really cool tabletop news going on in the world.
There's some big news. At the time the viewers watching this, it will have been a day or two. But as of recording, the big news of the day in the tabletop world is that Leagues of Votann got a pretty hefty nerf.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Matt, can you grab our box to prove that we're not just talking out of our our sides?
But I banged my knee and it hurts.
Yeah. So real quick, what happened is the Leagues of Votann, the brand new Games Workshop army for Warhammer 40k, is out now. I believe it's in stores.
Yeah.
At least by the time you're reading this, the army box is probably sold out already. But
sure,
whatever. Regardless, it's out. And people, before they even got their hands on the codex, were already screaming for nerfs for this army.
Yeah, our over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BattleTech, Thomas had a very in-depth review, and basically the whole premise of the video was like, yeah, these guys are really good.
Yeah.
And even Thomas was like, but you could work around them, and it's probably still not going to be devastating, but that was not the general consensus of the rest of the world.
Yeah, people were scared. The Leagues of Votann were like the boogeyman all of a sudden. And it's kind of weird because the squats haven't been an army for over 25 years at this point. Mm-hmm. And people have been bugging GW for them to come out, and they came out swinging. Their initial iteration was real good, but the army isn't even completely out yet, and Games Workshop has already dropped the nerf bat on them. So, real quick, I just want to talk about what actually changed.
Sure.
So we can go into that a little bit more, and whether or not it's good or bad or whatever. So, what actually changed is, one, the points for everything in the army went up.
Is it literally everything?
No, I mean, obviously not war gear and stuff, but like per model, per unit, pretty much everything went up.
Because I saw the little table that, I don't know, where maybe it came from Twitter or maybe a GW, I don't know, but I saw that little table. It was like old, new, and it was, for the most part, 20 to 40 point increase on
on the top end, right? So it would be like, for example, the Hearthkin Guard, the Hearthkin Warriors. At the top end, they went up by 20 points, but it's really just like 1 point per model. But like the biggest jump was like the Hecaton Land Fortress. That went up by 70 points.
How was it?
It was 230 and now it's 300. That's before war gear. Then you had stuff like Uthar the Destined went up by like 10 or 20 points. The Iron Champion went up by 10 or 20. And just across the board, most of the characters went up by at least 10 points, if not 20. A lot of the units, once you filled them all the way out, went up by like 20 or 40 points. Basically. So in a way, that's actually not a bad thing, because it makes buying the army, a 2,000 point army, cheaper.
Oh, like monetarily.
Like,
right.
Hey.
Yeah, that's fair. Less models is less money.
Right. So, like, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I wouldn't mind smaller games of 40k because everything costs more points, but that's maybe just me.
Right.
Fewer models on the table because everything's more points, but that's another topic.
All right.
So that was the first major nerf, is they got that. The second big change was how their judgments got changed.
Oh, this I did not hear about.
So this is actually the nerf that everybody... This is the nerf. So the way the judgments worked, if you're not familiar, you could give a unit a judgment token. It's
like an enemy unit.
Like an enemy unit, a judgment token. It's like the old grudges from like dwarves and stuff, right? So Thomas kept calling them grudges in the
yes.
They're judgments. But how the tokens worked is like the first token, if a unit attacked that, if a Leagues of Votann unit attacked the enemy unit with a judgment, any rolls to hit of 6 were auto wound. And you could get up to 3 judgment tokens on them, and it would go from a 6 up as an auto wound to hit, a 5 unmodified 5 to hit was an auto wound, unmodified 4 to hit was an auto wound.
It was just marker lights, but way better.
Right, exactly. Caveat to that, it wasn't just auto wound. They also counted as 6 to wound on the wound roll. And so, if you don't know, in the Leagues of Votann army, they have a bunch of weapons that if you roll a 6 to wound, you do max damage.
This is those hunter weapons?
Yeah. So a bunch of their weapons were like, did you roll a 6 to wound? Awesome, do a bunch of damage. So therein lied the issue was... Right.
And it was very easy to give out these judgment tokens.
Yeah, because you basically gave them out for the enemy doing something like, I don't know, breathing or existing.
Right, yeah.
Like, it was pretty ridiculous that how easy it is. So, that's the actual nerf, is now the judgment tokens are still as easy as ever to toss out. They haven't changed to hit anything, but they no longer count as having rolled a 6 to wound when you auto wound.
Okay, so it's still auto wounds, but it's not a 6.
Correct. So you don't get like the waterfall effect or the snowball effect of like, you know, I'm auto hitting you and now doing a bunch of extra damage too. So is that enough? Or is these two changes in combination enough to bring the power level of them down? Is this gonna appease the very angry community, even the people that wanted to ban them? I don't know.
It's literally a step in the right direction, right? No one can argue that this is not going to at least bring them closer. I think the question is this enough, just right, or too far? Because, like, those are kind of the options, right?
Yeah, and it's really hard to tell because nobody's played the games with this army yet. So, right. So, me personally, I'm very conflicted about this change. Because, on the one hand, if you read the codex, you could clearly see, hey, this is a little overtuned. This is a little bit much. Maybe we should, maybe GW shouldn't have released this and toned it down first.
And I think we had even talked about that, where any new release is going to be a little overpowered just because that's typically how these things go.
Yeah, typically.
But just a little overpowered.
Yeah, you want it to be good enough to get people's attention, get them reeled in. It's a game design thing where, like, it's better to release something busted on the good end versus broken and useless on the low end so that nobody then plays with it. Right? That's just a common thing that happens in game design.
When you're trying to sell a product, that's how it works.
Yeah, and I get that, So, did they go too far in that direction? Did they make it too good? Clearly, there was an issue. A lot of people were screaming, like, why did you even print this? Like, this should be toned down. Like, what's going on? And they heard you. GW heard the fact that, like, maybe we overdid it a little bit.
Maybe we got a little too excited.
Yeah. They're new, the new army, the squats are back. We're really pumped about them. Let's really juice them up. And they did. And get people excited. So, on one hand, I understand that point of view.
Yeah.
And I am glad that they nerfed it. On the other hand, I'm not glad that they nerfed it because it really gave into a lot of the really loud voices that were maybe a little bit excited. I don't know the right phrasing for this.
I mean, we've all been on the internet. We know how the internet can be.
Yeah.
And you're worried that maybe giving into their finger quote demands might have been giving up a little too much too easy. Yeah,
well, again, mostly because nobody's played any games with this army.
Right.
We don't have any, and now we will never have any tournament data to back up the changes. Aside from that, you could read it in paper and figure it out. So it's one of those things that, like, are you going with the intuition here, or are you just going to go with the hard data, and you don't have any hard data, so this is clearly just an intuitive thing.
Right.
So I kind of get that, and I also feel that, like, the mob, the internet mob that was going after the Leagues of Votann, again, I can read the codex too. I saw the issues as well. I just feel like wanting to ban them outright before anybody had even played with them seemed a bit much.
I realize it's been a while since there's been a new army, but has there ever been a even close similarity thing of, like, hey, this new codex came out. They are real strong. Let's ban them just temporarily while we figure this out.
Number one, I cannot recall another army that has actually ever been banned or threatened to be banned by the tournament scene. Just straight up.
Okay. Wow.
Like, in my many years of playing and keeping up with the tournament scene, nobody has ever outright called for a ban of an entire army. There have been people that have pushed to try to ban specific units or to get FAQs for specific things. The Doom and Valentine comes to mind as one example of, like, hey, is this thing working how it's supposed to? And there was a big old kerfluffle in 5th edition about that, and whether or not it could attack units that were in a vehicle. Are they on the table? But that was not ban the Tyranids until it's fixed. Gotcha. I have never seen any, like, the community, like, say we don't want this in the game until it's fixed. And so it's been a big, rambunctious week for the again. The army's not even out yet. We don't even have the Hecaton land fortress. Like,
right,
people haven't built that thing. Like, it's not out yet, and it's already like, oh, we're gonna increase the cost and nerf it.
It's really interesting, especially just to sort of circle back to like having sort of data, because with points changes, that's a much more concrete.
Yeah.
See where things lay out, but something when you're changing a mechanic, like with the judgment tokens, that's a lot harder to really like. Is this enough? Too much? Whatever. Like, because there's not really like numbers are easy. It's easy to like put numbers against each other, but mechanics changes are always tough.
And Abe actually did a really good job comparing the Hecaton land fortress to I think like a Space Marine.
The Land Raider,
not the Land Raider. The
I don't know.
Not the Eradicator. The new one.
Adjudicator. I don't know. I'm just saying words that sound similar. That I think that's a Chaos one, isn't it?
Yeah. No. Oh, do we have one?
I mean, we must.
We have one. Around.
We have a lot of things.
It's the Space Marine. It's going to come to me in like 2 minutes. Anyway, compared to not the Land Raider of the Space Marines, but basically the Primaris Land Raider, and was like, look at the points value, look at the stats, look at the point value, look at the stats. You can see how undercosted the Hecaton land fortress is, and that's the type of stuff that I think the community was like, yo, this is blatantly obvious. Why did you put this out that way? Caveat to that, if you actually read the Games Workshop explanation of what happened, they do a pretty good job of explaining, like, okay, here's why this happened, or like how this happened. They basically tested this army against the Eldari and the Tyranids a whole bunch in their playtesting groups.
Interesting.
Before those armies got nerfed. So, like, game design wise, this is like weird. This is a problem with like a validation process or a version process. If this is computer programming, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you have a version sync, and you're comparing the new army against like the current stuff from 6 months ago. And so, those armies got nerfed and changed, and this army did not get nerfed or changed. So
you'll see this sort of similar concepts in it. Like, I played a lot of Overwatch when it was popular, and now it's dead. But when it was popular, and you would have these like seasons. I mean, they had literal in-game seasons, but this was sort of like more of a patch season of just like, here's this patch, and then all the testing internally and within, all of the tournament scene is on this season. Then eventually they sort of like trickle down all of the latest patches and all of that. And it feels like a similar system might work well here, but at this point we're just speculating.
Yeah, this army, Leagues of Votann, was balanced against a different version of armies that got before they got nerfed. So that's kind of why this one needed an update too. So it would have been nice if the playtesters got, like, before it came out, they got another crack at it. But I don't know the design process, and I'm sure there's some security and like there's a whole bunch of like, you can't play test it forever, and eventually you got to throw it out in the wild and then get feedback and change it, because
get feedback they did.
Yeah, so that's the big story with the Leagues of Votann, and I know I rambled quite a bit, but
it's big news, and considering, like you were saying, this is potentially the first time this has ever happened. It's quite the story.
The first time I can remember an army getting banned by the community. Like, we've seen people want to ban units, and we've seen people demand changes for units. I think you brought up the point too. One of the commenters said something about like they don't like playing 40K. What happened?
So one of the comments on one of the many articles I'm sure we've heard about at this point, but one of the comments that stood out to me is like, this is the commenter was saying, this is why I don't play 40K, because you'll buy a codex and then the codex is made irrelevant in a month because all of the stats in the book are now wrong. I guess wrong.
I would say they're being a little hyperbolic.
Right, sure.
But I do understand where they're coming from. The stuff that is wrong, like the points are now wrong. Right. Wrong is...
But then, I mean, because then, like, what's the point of having the codex if, like, this data card is incorrect?
Yeah, exactly.
And all of the rules are changed, and, like, I see where they're coming from.
Yeah, it's one rule, but, and exactly, but it's one rule here, and it's these points there, and maybe in the future it'll be these units get tweaked here. Yeah, I don't disagree. Games Workshop has said that they're going to roll out the changes to the digital versions, but for those of us who have print versions, like, what do you do?
Like, so that sort of hit to this commenter point. Yeah, you can still play, but, like, why buy the codex?
I get it. I get where they're coming from, and like I said, this is complicated to me just because why did they get printed in the first place, and all those reasons that we talked about, but then also it makes sense that we changed it, or that it was changed. Games Workshop changed it, and it makes sense that we as the community were like, "Yo, this needs fixed." But did they tweak it too soon? Did they give in to the loudest voices too soon? I don't know, man. It's complicated.
Yeah, and we could definitely talk about this forever.
Yeah,
but anyway. We shouldn't, because we have other things to talk about, like all of our upcoming games that you'll be able to pick up this very weekend. Let's check them out.
All right, we're back, and a big shout out to our friends at Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy. They have hooked us up with these products that we're going to be showing off to you today that you can pick up this very weekend from your favorite local gaming store. If you are in Austin, Texas, stop by, say hi to Dragon's Lair.
And tell them we sent you, and they'll be like, I don't care.
But we'll take your money.
Right.
But yeah, first up we have Star Wars Legion.
Yeah, so this is one of 4 new army boxes that have come out.
Battle Force starter sets.
There you go. Yeah, so I won't try to name them because I won't be able to remember them all. But this is specifically Echo-based Defenders, which is, Hoth.
Yeah, if you remember seeing The Empire Strikes Back in the Battle of Hoth, there you go.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's got all your favorite characters in there, except maybe Han and Luke. They're not in here. But
they're not, but they don't. I mean, Luke obviously does a lot of things, but it's been a while since I've seen.
Han does the Tauntaun thing with Luke.
Yeah,
there are Tauntaun riders in here.
Right, there are 2 Tauntaun riders in here. We got Leia, we got Chewie, 4 Rebel veterans, or 4 squads of Rebel veterans.
I think it's just
because there's more minis than there are. Yeah.
So. There's squads of Rebel veterans, C-3PO and R2-D2 are in here as well, and you also get like the laser cannon team and the Tauntaun Riders that we mentioned. So,
because we did no, we didn't do an unboxing of these. We have opened one of these boxes unrelated to this, and there are a lot of minis in here.
Yeah, it's 37 miniatures in total, so this is enough to get you the Echo base army ready to go.
Yeah.
Like if you want to pay,
there's a lot in here for sure.
Yeah, if you wanted to play as the Rebellion with the Echo-based dudes, the snow-themed troopers, I mean, there you go. Like, this is everything you need, ready to rock and roll in one box. That's kind of the point of these.
Right. They're good. They're starter boxes.
Yeah, these Battle Force boxes.
Each of the different, not like factions, but like theme of the different boxes you want to get.
Yeah, you get your commander, which in this case I believe is Leia, and then you also have Chewbacca, who's kind of like a solo. Not Han Solo, but like an actual
right, like
unit solo.
Unit character.
Yeah, and then you've got your squads of troopers and then your kind of specialist stuff too. So again, it's a really good place to start. If you want to hop into Legion and you didn't get stuff along the way, there you go.
And you do still need the core set for all of the extra cards and whatever, all the dice other essentials that you'll need. This is just meant to be sort of like a big booster pack.
Yeah, exactly. And one army all in one. Yeah, so that's the
Star Wars Legion.
Echo base. Let's talk more battle stuff with BattleTech. Hey, speaking of getting started, this is the new BattleTech beginner box. Where to start with BattleTech?
I feel like I might get a little flack for this. I don't know anything about BattleTech.
That's
like
okay.
I've barely ever heard of it.
BattleTech is actually the game that got me into tabletop wargaming.
Cool.
So I know a little bit about this game.
All right, tell me about it.
Yeah, so BattleTech is giant mechs fighting each other.
All right, I knew that much.
Okay.
Mostly because it's printed all over the box.
Then you're pretty much good to go.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's BattleTech.
Yeah, no. But in this box, you're going to get 2 plastic mechs. You're going to get some dice. You're going to get a gaming mat. It's a hex-based game. You roll dice, like D6s in this case. There's 2d6 rolls for various things. You can kind of play. What's neat about BattleTech is it kind of stretches like genres. You can play it as like just a war game. You can have some RPG elements in it with like more Mech Warrior style, like leveling up type of systems and upgrades.
I was reading the back of the box and some other research, and it seemed like very Necromunda-ish with like, here are your battles, but then there's like other stuff layered on top.
Yeah, and you can go as many layers as you want with BattleTech. So it's kind of cool because if you just want to like, hey, let's say Matt, you and I, we're gonna have a game. Let's play 200 tons each. We'll just grab a bunch of mechs, and tons are basically points.
Right. From context, I got it. That's just a fun way of
so like
doing it.
mechs weigh tonnage. Mm-hmm. You just play with X amount of tonnage per game, whatever you want to play.
That's cool. I like
or
that.
if you want to get to really the nitty gritty, where your mech warriors, your pilots essentially of the mechs, how they can level up and they can get better stats and skills to make them more effective in their respective mechs. So
Very
and that's
cool.
I think it kind of goes as deep as you want to go. It is again a hex-based game, so you have hex grids. Everything's based off of that, facing and all that fun stuff. Ranges are hex-based. It's a very easy game to get into, and that's what the beginner box is all about. It's got some the unpainted miniature. It's got like a 24-page novella in here. The Mech Warrior cards, quick start rules. BattleTech has also got a lot of fiction behind it too. So
I can imagine.
If you ever want to like get into a sci-fi universe with a very, very deep well to draw from BattleTech, it's got a lot.
I've always preferred fantasy over sci-fi.
But it's science fantasy. It's not science
like Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's a neat universe. There's a whole lot to go through. I mean, it's been around for a while, so. But yeah, this is the new Battle Box. It's $25. It's in stores. Go check it out. If you're just looking to hop into BattleTech, this is a great place to do it. And there's a bunch of really cool. I think the biggest change for BattleTech is they finally moved to plastic for a lot of the miniatures.
There's been, and we were talking about it earlier. BattleTech is like really
getting a resurgence.
Yeah. And then speaking of boxes.
Working on the transition, I like it.
Hey, I'm getting better for sure.
You are, yeah.
So this is a case, not a box. It is a RPG travel case, and what might look like just a normal snakeskin bag, which is probably not actually snakeskin, although it does feel like it.
I don't think it's snakeskin, but it is very fancy.
It is very fancy. This is not important, but I'm just curious. It doesn't say anywhere.
Yeah. This is from Enhance, right? Enhance.
Right. This is from Enhance. Enhance is just the name of the company. But what's neat about it is specifically designed for RPG traveling. So in this top, as you can see here, there is the miniature foam core slots. And then right underneath that, you got a different with dividers to hold your RPG books.
You can put a laptop in there if you need to.
Right, there's definitely enough for a laptop. Oh, there's another thing in here. Yeah. Don't eat bags.
Very important.
And then there's the two side pouches and the one in front for all of your dice and pencils and rulers. And
I also really like this feature. They have these little straps that you can use. I can't get them out right now. This is where you would put your map, your leather folio. You can slide it, you can roll it up and get it in there.
Like a camping backpack for your bedroll.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
So it's even got that for your leather map. So basically, if you're playing RPGs or you're going to somebody's house to play or going to your store for game night or whatever, this is all your stuff in one convenient thing.
This is a very cool looking case in general. It just it looks fancy and it's very clearly designed with like gamers in mind of like, all right, what you need somewhere to hold your miniatures. You need the only thing there's no specific part for the dice, which I think would have been cool. I don't know how they would have implemented that.
Like, you mean like a dice bag?
Right, like, or so, I don't know. It would just
like the inside's got the pocket with the see-through thing here too, so for like pencils and whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like, I don't know how Or like if they could incorporate a dice tower into the bag somehow, like something. But this is why I don't design things, because I would go very overboard with the nuts and bolts and bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's pretty high quality. Like the zippers and everything look really nice. They're very
it's a very smooth zip for sure.
Very cool looking bag. They're like $150, but again, you need one bag to rule them all.
Yeah, if you're willing, if you are the sort of person who is going to be traveling a lot for your games, this is definitely a way to kick it up a notch.
I just like the inside too, because like these little dividers are velcroed in, so you can pull them out and
change if you don't want the dividers in there, you can pull them out. But considering you are presumably going to be carrying books and laptops, I would think they're probably going to stay. Pretty handy. Absolutely. Cool. So there you go.
Moving on, let's talk one of my favorite games, Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hey.
So, the Scarlet Keys is the next expansion coming out for Arkham Horror, the card game.
Is that based on any story?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
That is not. I mean, I'm by no means an expert, but I do feel like I know Lovecraft stuff pretty well. I don't know Scarlet Keys.
No, the name itself, I don't think there's various stories where keys are involved, and I'm not going to get into them. But the Scarlet Keys is about dimensional travel, possibly.
Probably.
So
that feels right.
This is just the Investigator expansion box. So if you remember a while back, FFG changed their model from having the card packs to having instead of having like the main expansion box with 6 card pack Mythos packs, now they're just doing the Investigator expansion boxes and then the actual campaign itself. So this is just the Investigator expansion. So in this box is going to be 6 brand new Investigators and a ton of cards for building and playing Arkham Horror. You can use all the cards in here. It's fully compatible with all of your previous Investigators and stuff like that too. It can be used with any Arkham Horror campaign. It's just, if you are just a player of Arkham Horror and you don't want the campaign box, or you don't need the campaign box for your group for whatever reason, if you just want all the player cards, this is the player card box.
Is this the first expansion post the decision to split things into 2?
It is the second
one. Okay.
Yeah, the last new story they did was the Mountains of Madness expedition one. That was and then this is the second new story. In between all that, they've released a couple of revamp boxes. They re-released I think Path to Carcosa as the 2 set.
There's some big names in there for sure.
But this is again 6 new Investigators. Typically it's only 5, so that's kind of cool.
Bonus.
And a bunch of new stuff here. Some of these Investigators sound pretty neat too. I'm actually looking forward to playing Charlie Kane, the politician, because
I remember Charlie.
Yeah, his whole shtick is like allies. So typically you can only have 1 ally card out, but Charlie can have like 2 or 3.
Because I played a lot of the Arkham Horror board game. Yeah. And it was that and a lot of money exchange.
Because he's a politician. Yeah.
Right. That's how it goes.
He builds a task force, to help take care of the threat without getting his hands dirty. So it's kind of cool to like have a whole bunch of allies. We'll see how this expansion goes. I don't know a whole lot about the story of the Scarlet Keys in terms of like when that what all is in that, because I'm trying not to spoil it for myself.
Of course.
Because I'm going to play through it. But yeah, this is the actual player Investigator expansion. So this is out now. I'm excited about it. I'm taking this home.
All right. Cool. I'm going to go with this heavy one because I worry that...
Don't throw your back out. It's heavy.
It's not that. It's a little heavy. All right, so
towel.
This is Mosaic, A Story of Civilization.
Yeah.
This is a Mediterranean-themed civilization builder game. So the basic premise, like with any of these civilization games, you are starting with just your one city and you're expanding all around the Mediterranean Sea and beyond. Mm-hmm. But one of the sort of core mechanics that you're looking at is, remember when I said I was afraid it would fall down? It happened.
It's okay.
So what was I talking about? I was talking about So
there's
So one of the core mechanics that you're looking at is there are a lot of different like resources to get. And I say resource with a very vague definition because there's a lot of ways to grow and, a synonym for grow your civilization.
Expand.
Expand, a good one. There you go.
Yeah.
So, but the key thing is that you don't know what's necessarily going to get you some big points because there is a deck of cards, and as you dig through the deck, there are 3 objective cards. Well, there are more, but then as you reveal each one, you're going to score based on whatever that objective card is of. So, maybe it's number of cities, and I'm making these up. Maybe it's number of cities, maybe it's number of military units, maybe it's amount of wonders, because that's another thing.
Yeah.
There's all these different sort of, like I said, vague definition resources of things you can get. So it really encourages you to have a wide array of things. And the game is designed by, the name is going to elude me, but same guy who did the Civilization board game and Age of Empires? Yes, Age of Empires 3. So it is from a well-known designer, again, whose name eludes me at the moment, but it seems like a very solid game in terms of its mechanics, and if you are a fan of Civilization builder games, it seems like Mosaic will probably be right up your alley.
Yeah, it's got a board, but the board has hexes on it, tile-based kind of a system, and again, a lot of cards to go through here. It is a very hefty box. Like, this is a very densely packed box. So,
what's the game time on this? Because I bet it's
120 minutes.
Sure.
Up to 2 to 6 players, but I would wager your first game is probably going to take closer to 3 hours. If I had to.
Okay. That's I guess
Maybe
most board
2.5
games
hours?
nowadays are not really pushing like the 3-hour mark anymore like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But
it does say 2 hours.
I anticipate this a game of Mosaic is going to take a while.
Yeah, it looks dense, but it looks really cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and speaking of things you can't remember, Space Marine Repulsor, that was the name of the unit.
Hey, there
Called
it
back
is.
from earlier. Came to me later.
Good.
Nailed it.
All right,
Yeah.
so that is Mosaic.
Mosaic's going to cost you $69.99. Nice. So go check that one out. It looks really cool.
Yes.
If you've got a consistent board game group, that one should go on your shelf.
I agree.
Next up, Marvel Champions, Mutant Genesis. The Muties have come to Marvel Champions again, because I think they already had some, but this is kind of the next big expansion. We also have Cyclops and Jean Grey / Phoenix, so that's kind of cool.
Cool.
This expansion introduces Shadowcat and Colossus, and you have a whole bunch of villainous mutants here, like Magneto. You've got Sabretooth, you've got the Brotherhood of Mutants, and you also have my new favorite villains, the Sentinels and Master Mold, in here too. Matt knows why.
So is this a coincidence that they have also just recently come to Marvel Crisis Protocol?
Yeah. It might have been planned. It might not have been planned. I don't know. I mean, FFG is technically a different studio than Atomic Mass Games, but they're all under the Asmodee umbrella, so there might be some synergies going on there.
Maybe some executive was like, Sentinels, make it happen.
Make them happen now! But yeah, Mutant Genesis adds those new characters in here. It has 2 complete decks, so you can play as Shadowcat or Colossus. And Colossus. They're both pre-built. Yeah, and if you haven't played Marvel Champions, go check it out. It's fun. You have to manage your alternate ego with your superhero ego to fight off to defeat the villain's ploys, and it's a fun co-op game. It seats up to 4 players, 1 to 4 players. Games take about 30 minutes to do like the scenario of defeating whoever like the villain might be.
Right.
So, and again, Cyclops and Phoenix are out. These are both complete decks that you can just use right out of the box, or you can take the cards, and there's extra cards to combine with other sets to customize your deck even further. So
Toad's in this one, huh?
yeah, he's part of the Brotherhood.
Yeah, that makes sense. You said it, and it was like, I've heard. What is that from? And then
Yep.
Toad's in this one.
Yep.
So
5 scenarios in here. Sabretooth, one. I'm assuming Sabretooth, Sentinels, Master Mold, Brotherhood, and Magneto. Those are the 5.
Some very terrifying villains and Toad.
I'm just getting a lot of 90s X-Men themed stuff now lately.
There's well, because then maybe this is also not so much a coincidence. There's also Disney Plus is putting out the new X-Men cartoon 97 like continuation.
I'm not saying that they didn't plan it. I'm just saying that they probably could have planned it, and the X-Men are back in a lot of media. And if you're a kid from the 90s, or if you were a kid in the 90s and you watched that cartoon...
I don't want to get copyright striked.
Yeah,
so you only get the 3 notes, that's it.
Yes, I've been listening to that while I model.
It's good.
All right, the thing that you broke everything else with.
Actually, it is a little broken.
It pops off. It'll come back.
Okay, so this might look like Catan, but that's only because it is. But it's not, because it's actually Catan: Dawn of Humankind, which is a standalone reboot of their Catan. Stone Age, actually, something like that? Settlers of the Stone Age.
Okay.
So this is a separate game from, well, now it's just called Catan, but a separate game from Settlers of Catan. But it uses a lot of the same mechanics. This is, again, like Mosaic, a empire builder, but this is much more focused on like the dawn of humankind. So you do have to manage fighting off saber-toothed tigers and things like that.
Saber-tooth?
Yeah, right. And toads, maybe. But you're also developing technologies and, building your civilization out. But it uses the core mechanics of, like, your hex base and resource tiles and your chits with pips. And
you're still rolling the 2 dice to get the resources.
Right. Yeah. That is the sort of core foundation of the gameplay. But then layered on top of it is this empire builder, which is a really neat idea because it's that mechanic really lends itself well to a foundation for this sort of game, and I'm very curious to see how it ends up turning out.
Yeah, my one complaint is just that the font's hard to read on the yellow on yellow.
It is. It's not the way I would have done it.
I really like the artwork. But yeah, I'm just being nitpicky. It's Catan. It's a classic genre in and of itself. So go check that one out too. It's ages 12 and up. Game's for this version about 90 minutes.
Yeah. And if you like Catan but just wanted a little more, that's what this is for.
Interestingly enough, this is recommended for 3 to 4 players, not like 1 to 4 or 2 to 4, but 3 to 4.
I mean, even with Settlers of Catan, I think 3 was... Like, 4 was too crowded. 2 was... You couldn't... Yeah. I think 3 was the right number.
You kind of want that third person there just because it plays
better. This map is way bigger for the record.
It's like the actual world map, too. You can kind of see, like, the continents there. So.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Very cool. But yeah, let's get
That is Catan: Dawn of Humankind.
And I think that is everything.
That is everything.
Yeah. All okay, right. Cool. Well, let's build our castle wall here of stuff.
We're going to have some good foundation bricks.
That's true. Yeah. Again, big shout out to our friends at Dragon's Air Comics and Fantasy. They were the ones that hooked us up with these goodies to show off. If you are here in Austin, Texas, you can go stop by and pick up these products this very weekend. And again, if you're not here in Austin, go visit your local store and support them and support your local scene.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's going to do it for us here on the Tabletop Spotlight. I'm Adam.
And I'm Matt.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.